Hey guys, welcome to Newd and Lude with Joanna and
Julie.
Yep, we're here for podcast number 2.
That's right.
Now, last week was more kind of just an introduction of the new podcast and what the name is. We have not gotten any other suggestions that I know of.
Oh, actually good feedback.
Yeah, very good feedback. Yeah.
We dropped the S.
Yeah, so not nudes and ludes. It's nude and lewd. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, we're not sending out naked pictures and we're not doing quaaludes. So.
That's right. And we got pulled from Instagram.
Yes, I feel like we've arrived, like immediately arrived.
Yeah, so we're going to have to work something out with their algorithm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Somebody will have to get in touch with somebody. So anyway, for podcast number 2 today, Julie and I talked before real quickly, and in some other podcasts that we've done together, we really talked about witnessing.
Yeah.
And specifically, though, witnessing other people and their stories and what it means to be a good witness for someone else. So Julie said today, why don't we talk about witnessing, but as it pertains to ourselves and witnessing ourselves. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So take it, sister.
Well, I'll actually start with a point of gratitude. Does that work?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that there's something to be said for having, as we grow older, like being willing to peel back the idea that we should know things and settle into the idea that we are always evolving. And so I have gratitude for that process and the ability to witness myself in it and really reckon with those hard parts.
Yes, and shout out to Shauna Nyquist book, the new book.
Oh yeah, I just haven't learned that yet.
Yeah, great book if you're looking for a. I've got the audio of it, and I think you've got the book of it, and both of them are.
And Present Over
fantastic.
Perfect rocked my world. It's actually where I really got started in witnessing myself in a real profound way. I've always, being in recovery and doing step work and being in therapy and being a therapist and going through school, you have a process, but like there's just been a real deep witnessing that's happened for myself in the last few years. I'm just really grateful for that process.
Yes. Point of gratitude for myself as it pertains to witnessing myself is I'm grateful for silence. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I have the choice to remain silent. And as I have gotten older and am getting older every minute, I realize how powerful silence is.
Yeah.
Especially when the world outside is tumultuous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't have to speak.
Yeah.
I can be silent.
Well, there's a big part of witnessing that comes from silence, right?
Yeah.
You can't, if you're too busy trying to be loud, you can't witness.
Yeah. Talk over.
Mm-hmm. Even yourself.
Right.
Yeah. There's this book called, have you ever heard of the book called The Untethered Soul?
I've maybe heard of it, but I've not read it for sure.
It's really good. I would definitely recommend it. But one of the concepts they talk about, and people talk about it when they talk about like intellect in the mind, or, like we have two spaces. One is the processing system and the other one is like the wise mind. Like one is our soul. But in that one, they talk about how like the loud voices are really all the people we've picked up through the years that echo all of our insecurities and fears and hurts and wounds, and that the quiet voice is our real self, our true self, our creator self.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I literally was laying in bed the other night. I think I'd fallen asleep and then woken back up. And there was this like repetitive, I can't even remember what it was, but it was weird, sentence that I just kept repeating in my mind, repeating. And I finally had enough awareness, who is this in my brain? Shut up. It was clearly not me. Mm-hmm. It was something that I didn't even care about.
Yeah.
I didn't experience. Mm-hmm. It was, I don't know where it was coming from. It was crazy though.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But that's witnessing.
Yeah.
So one of the things for me about witnessing that we were talking about ahead of time is really, we've talked about it in the context of being with other people. Even when we talked about toxic positivity, it's about witnessing our desire to try to make something for somebody else, whether it's to make it better or to control the outcome because we don't want them to get hurt, or we're trying to protect ourselves, or the infinite variations of ways that can show up. But it's like witnessing others is only possible to the extent we can do it for ourselves.
Yeah.
Like truly. Mm-hmm. You know, I was once an amazing advice giver.
Yes.
Everybody came to me for advice and I dispensed it.
Oh yeah.
It was such good
like
advice.
Like a gumball machine. I
Absolutely.
bet everybody does.
Yeah. And then I learned to witness myself and I stopped giving advice. I will still, you know, weigh in if somebody invites me to or asks me for a thought, but I generally don't do it without, you know, seeking their own reflection first.
Yeah, and not as the point of decision making for someone else's life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something. And so, yeah, I can't talk about witnessing without the concept of vulnerability.
Sorry.
Joanna just knocked the mic with her coffee mug.
My coffee mug that Julie gave me that says "Kick today in the dick."
That's right. Happy birthday.
Tomorrow.
Yay.
Woo, 46.
Yep.
Jesus.
Joanna got a kick the day in the dick mug for her birthday. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
I was trying to get her the, I have a t-shirt that has Dolly on it and it says, feeling cute, might whoop Jolene's ass later. Yeah. I don't know. I'm like, I tried to get one for you, but they didn't have it in your size.
Well, I'm going to find one on Amazon.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Go. Squirrel.
So vulnerability is this like this concept of, you know, like there's so many ideas about what it is. It really is just this willingness to peel back the layers when you really have something on the line, right? Your ego, your hurt, your pride. I mean, it can be any number of things with another person, but with yourself, like it's the willingness to see that narrative that comes at you with shame or fear or scarcity or those kinds of things, and be willing to observe that without an opinion or judgment, and then honor it, and then make room for something else.
Yes. And that scarcity part. Jesus. I know that's I would dare say main one with me is that scarcity mentality, and not even in like the traditional sense of like financial, you know, scarcity or monetary scarcity. It's just scarcity of anything and everything that I want in my life, and somehow just automatically believe that there's not enough either outside in the world or inside of myself. Yeah.
Do you mind talking just to like parcel that out a little bit more?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of something specific right now without getting into like
I know.
current, you know, kind of thing.
We had to talk a lot before we got on because there's a lot of current events for both of us, and we're like, we're not allowed to talk about these.
Yeah, because we are nude and lewd. It is hard to shunt.
Well, and there's we can't forecast the potential harm that would be caused because we don't have the big picture view. We're still in the weeds.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, here's something. I mean, just this is real simplistic, not even on a necessarily emotional level, but like the engine went out in my Jeep. You know, I've got it covered monetarily. That's not a problem, you know, but it's like all these fears start to rise up inside of me of, am I going to be able to find rides somewhere? Am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to get this motor? When's this motor? Is the man who's supposed to be finding me the motor at the mechanics, is he doing what he should be doing? You know, that kind of thing. And it's scarcity, you know, like I believe that my best interest and those things and those people involved cannot or do not have enough. The universe, the world doesn't have enough to provide for me. Yeah. You know, and it's really consciously, I was sitting before I finished that thought, I was sitting on my porch on Saturday, I think it was, and the mechanic called and said, this may be a month ordeal kind of thing, to get this fixed. And I hung up with him and kind of started Eeyoring, and I wait a minute, like, no, there are rental cars out there, and so if
they're scarce.
They're scarce, yes. But I found one, I found one. And sorry. I have choices, and we talk about that, we are privileged in that way to have so many choices and options.
For sure.
But yeah, it's not scarce. And I can't remember what my other thought was, but anyway.
It reminds me of a statement that I heard one time, from Brene Brown. I was laughing because I'm like,
here she is again. We need to get a bobblehead Brene.
No, but she talks about the opposite of scarcity isn't abundance; it's enough.
Yes,
because even thinking about it in terms of abundance is still a scarcity mindset.
Yes,
because you want more.
Yes, and then automatically believe that more is not going to be there.
Right. And so the interesting part about that, how that plays into witnessing and vulnerability, right, is that when we're in a scarcity mindset, we can't witness a situation. So we were talking about the current events. We're in the weeds, right?
Yeah.
So we can't witness it accurately because we need to be able to step back and, what did you say earlier, take the 3,000-foot view.
Yes, the flyover. Yeah, because my amygdala? My amygdala right now is flooded, and I am in fight, flight, freeze, fawn right now with some things that are going on in my life.
You're like the glitching, thing in Wreck-It Ralph. You're like, all these different personalities at once.
Yes, absolutely. I vacillate between like, I am not going to let this bother me. Yes, I am zen as a motherfucker, and then I go to this other one, I'm going to fuck them up,
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm going to get my whole girl gang to come with me.
That's right.
And y'all would.
Yeah. We ran at dawn. I'm just kidding. Right. I always laugh when people post those because I'm like, it's kind of like, I don't know. Anyway, I'll default, but it's a whole other topic. I was going to say, it's kind of like when people tell you like they have to post things about being alpha. I'm like, if you're announcing that you're an alpha, you're not an alpha, right? If you're announcing that you're so we have to be cautious with that. But yeah, it's like the girl gang that rides with you, they're not announcing to, that they're riding at dawn. They're going in the cloak at night.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
The shivs and shanks.
That's right. Okay, so we just peeled back some layers.
And a murdered out car. Yeah, not that I have one.
But going back to scarcity, no, just kidding. Scarcity is about I love that concept of enough, and you're talking about that. Like, so you got a rental car, right?
Yes.
So it's enough. It gets you from point A to point B today.
And that's what I needed to figure out in the moment to help myself feel safe and taken care of, and to alleviate some fear of what the future holds with this. I mean, hell, this could turn out that like I have to sell the car and buy another one, which I don't want to do. I love my Jeep. It does everything I need it to do. But like, there's this very real possibility that this is not going to turn out the way that I am hoping it turns out.
God, I'm just imagining if I had to like be separated from Brutus.
Oh my God.
I would have a hard time.
Yeah.
Brutus is my truck, y'all.
Yeah. And Frosty is my Jeep. But and I love Frosty.
I know. So so that belays like, so it's, as you say that, this is why I love that we decide we don't talk our talking points out ahead of time. We say, here's a concept and we're going to roll with it. Right. Scott, I need you to keep an eye on time for us too. I didn't put my timer on. Okay. Sorry. We want to make sure we're not rolling like, Joe Rogan style and here 2 hours later rapping and everybody's like, and we lost you at 20 minutes.
What are we going for here? Just so I know in my
head. We
usually
shoot to be between 20 and 30,
okay. So 30.
So
5.
So what I was going to say is this idea that, hold on, I got to find it.
We don't talk about our talking points before.
Hold on.
Okay.
Insert music. Just kidding. All right, I'll come back to it. We're talking about scarcity enough. Oh, we create what we fear. That was one of the most revolutionary concepts that I ever had in my life, was recognizing that when I operate in that space, right, that scarcity space. And for me, it's scarcity, mistrust, whatever it looks like. I literally eventually create the very thing I fear.
Yeah.
I fear being alone. If I'm operating in scarcity, I make myself so unbearable to be with that I'm alone.
Yes.
Right. I was talking to somebody yesterday. She was talking about her child, and I was like, one of the things I see a lot of parents do is they say they want to support their children's autonomy, but they are fearful that they'll hurt themselves or that they'll get hurt. Mm-hmm. So they can control every aspect of that kid's life, including when they're at college, their life 360, tracking where they're going. And then, when it comes time and they really have to make profound decisions for themselves because they don't know how to manage themselves. Right. So the parent almost inevitably creates the very thing they fear by not letting the kid mitigate like danger and stress and hard things when they're younger. And those things are not big, profound, scary things. They're little things like brush ups in the neighborhood, or falling down and skinning their knee and having to like hobble themselves home to, and self-soothe until they get home.
Yes.
It's the bigger things of, the scary things that can happen.
Yes. When I was looking at schools, new schools for Colton, the one I ended up putting him at was the Montessori school.
Right.
And the thing that sealed the deal is there was a tree or some sort of like climbing apparatus in the play yard.
Yeah.
And as I was talking to the woman who would be his teacher, Colton started climbing on it, and she kicked a mat to go up under him. She didn't tell him to get down.
Yeah.
She was being the wise one, but she was not stopping him from his childlike impulses to climb and to dare and to be a kid, but she was going to help him a little bit, and kick like one of those gymnastics mats up under him. Yeah. So if he did fall, it wouldn't hurt as bad. It'd still hurt, but it wouldn't hurt as bad. But she was allowing him to still explore life.
Yep. Absolutely. And, I think that's part of it for ourselves when we're talking about witnessing ourselves. That starts within us. Like if we're afraid of being alone, we can't tolerate ourselves, which kind of goes to a topic that you were saying you wanted to talk about. So like, look at that. We naturally segued to it, which is like, how do we, so witnessing ourselves, one of the ways we see that we don't witness ourselves as women is we cut off other women, but continue to engage in really toxic situations with men.
Yes, and I'm going to talk.
Hey, Natalie.
I'm going to speak slowly here. There have been several instances in my life recently where a woman has, crossed me, and sometimes, and not in a petty, like gossipy kind of way, but betrayed me.
Yeah.
And I have immediately just off with her head. Mm-hmm. We're done. We're not speaking anymore. You are dead to me. Yeah. That kind of thing. And my therapist said to me when I was telling her the story of this first one, one of the first ones that happened, she said, "Joanna, why do you write blank checks to men and make the women pay the price?" It's like, shit.
Yeah.
Shit. And my first response was, well, I expect men to do it.
Yeah.
I don't expect women to do it, but that's the surface level.
Yeah. Well, and it also is a reflection of how we hold ourselves as women to a higher standard.
Yes.
And men get the pass.
Yeah.
And ironically, we blame men for it, but we're really the ones who set it up.
Right. Mm-hmm. We are creating that which we are fearful of. Yeah. But recently, not in that instance that I was talking to my therapist about, but a friend of mine, she and I have been friends since literally kindergarten. We were in kindergarten together. Right. And a couple years ago, we stopped being friends. And there's no need to get into all of it, the details of it. It happened. And but recently, she reached out to me, and we got together. We went and worked out first to discharge some of the energy, and as we were coming back to my house, she was riding with me, and it's when my car started acting up and going crazy. And that woman sat on my front porch with me from 10:30, 11 o'clock until 3:30.
Yeah.
helping me find mechanic shops, you
Right.
know? I mean, she dug in with me. And we hadn't talked in 2 years,
Right.
you know? But it's just one of those, if I had not accepted her invitation to talk again, you know, and to see each other again,
Right.
and I had just gone on this scarcity mentality, you know, model of she doesn't have enough forgiveness in her, and therefore I don't have enough forgiveness inside of me to work through this, you know, and to talk like adults. I would have lost my friend, you know, and she and I both recognize that, like we both are worth it to the other person, you know, to
I
see
had a
if we can
situation where I did that
work this out.
recently.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us about it?
No.
Okay.
No, but it was really good because we were able to witness each other.
Yeah.
Like, that was a piece. And so I think that's a piece. It's like, in this scenario, I will say this, like, there was a perspective presented that wasn't like about me, that wasn't how I felt. But I was able to sit there and witness it and validate it and go, that sounds like it's really painful.
Yeah.
You know, because that's all she was asking me to do, was say, that sounds like it's painful to feel that way.
Yeah.
And I just said, I'm really, really sorry that's the perception I gave you.
Yeah.
And I really want you to know that's not how I feel. I didn't have to be like, that's not how I feel.
Yeah.
You got
You're
this
wrong.
wrong.
And yeah.
And I, you know, was able to clarify, like, what I'm seeking in this friendship is not that, you know, this super stellar person who shows up every day. I can't do that. I just need you to show up authentically when you are.
Yeah.
Like, just be who you are. Like, that's what I need.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's what I really seek in friendship today. But I think the bigger piece is being able to attend to the part of yourself that wants to defend and justify and be seen and do all of that. And it's so hard to control that piece.
It is. And it doesn't, well, in my experience, it doesn't look the way that I want it to, or I think it should look. You know, it doesn't feel the way that I want it to feel, like that I've proven my point and the other person is like, yes, you're right, Joanna, and I have been wrong this whole time. And, you know, there's no like justice to it or anything like that, you know, because again, it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember the details.
Yeah.
I doubt she does either.
Right.
You know, and we talked very little about any of it, mainly because of the car, but also, you know, the end of our time together, I said, what is one thing that I can do to help you in our relationship? Because I know that I have limitations. Yeah, I'm really, really, really trying to act and behave differently in friendship with women now.
Right.
So I know I'm limited. And so I asked her, you know, what's one thing that I can do? You know, and she told me, and then same question to me, you know, and my only, I need you to have very low to no expectation of me right now, you know, because I am just in a space right now. June is hard. Yeah. June is hard. And so we just, you know, hug, love you. Yeah. She came back over the next day and my dad cooked us dinner and it was great.
Yeah. It was like you picked up where you left off.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we now have a deeper, understanding of each other, you know?
Right.
And like that, and maybe not even a deeper understanding, but it's just this thing like, oh, you're a human just like me.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, and in your priorities with what you seek from each other line up.
Yes.
That's an important piece, because I don't want to belay this idea that if we just suffer ourselves that, you know, our friendships are going to work.
Right. Because it doesn't always. Yeah.
I have a situation where I have a friend that we broke up in the last couple of years, and like I apologized for the things she was upset about. You know, it was something genuinely out of my control.
Yeah.
You know, but and then, you know, it came back up again and it came back up again. And I finally was like, listen, I've already apologized for this. You know, like I can't keep apologizing for something that it's long done. You know, I've worked to make up for it. And there was a series of communications that, you know, really left me kind of unsettled, and I just decided to step away, you know. And we had a recommunication a few months later, and I said, yeah, I'm willing to sit down and talk anytime. I'm not there. I'm still angry.
Yeah.
I said, okay. She said, I'm still angry. I said, okay. And I now have come to the place where I understand, like, continuing to come back to that situation is trying to show up with someone who can't witness themselves in the way I need somebody to witness themselves, and they can't come and witness me. Yeah. Right. Because, you know, the part of I've made the apology and I've genuinely made amends, you know, I don't have to keep suffering that over and over again. It's not, relationship is not being flogged for mistakes that I've made, you know, there's a lot of forgiveness. And it's interesting for me, the part when I think about witnessing myself and the concept of vulnerability is also, it's about, when I think about forgiveness, you know, and that's a real loaded topic. So you and I have had some discussions about that. I don't even think we're ready to go there yet on the thing. But the vulnerable part of it is, there, I saw a statement recently, and it's going around on social media. It's a picture of the light up writing in a tree, and it says, you know, eventually you have to wrestle with the fact, the way, eventually to heal, you have to suffer.
The part you play in your own suffering.
Yeah, the part you play in your own suffering. And I thought, you know, one of the things I always so come to is like part of witnessing yourself is also allowing yourself to suffer.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about, suffering is part of the healing, right? And that's the part that so many of us can't do. And so I think about you and your friend, like allowing yourself to suffer, like that part of you that wants to feel justified and right and willing to lay that down. There's suffering that comes from that.
Yeah. It's grief. Yes. It all comes back. It's grief.
Yeah.
It is grief. It's grief over the friendship we used to have. It's grief over the rift that happened. And it's grief over that it won't probably be the same.
And it's also suffering your own shit.
Yeah.
Your ego and the way that it shows up and wants to be seen and justified.
Yeah, and the part that I played in that. Yeah.
Yeah, to lay that down.
Yep.
For the good of the healing.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. If somebody can't show up in kind in that way, like you can offer you can be free of your own resentment and hurt around it, but you can't be responsible for theirs.
Yeah.
You know, and that's an interesting piece too.
Mm-hmm. Tell the Sedona story.
Okay. So thinking about vulnerability. So again, being in recovery. I've done a lot of looking at myself and parceling out things. I've been in therapy, you know, off and on for years and all this other stuff. Like, and so like taking a look at myself is not something that is unusual.
Yeah.
But I had this moment. Went to Sedona on a girls' trip in November of 2019 there were 5 of us total, and we all agreed we went just a little bit too long. I think we went for like 7 or 8 days, and we were like, you know, we realized that like it was probably a little bit more than what we were intending, you know, and by the end of it, we had been cooped up in a house in one car and trying to agree on everywhere we're going. Like you get to the point where you're frayed with each other and everybody's getting annoyed with everybody's stuff and, you know, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And we're coming home and we're like, I love you. We're doing the huggy, kissy, you know, goodbye thing. But we all have this piece of like agitation with each other. We're all carrying, me included. And, you know, we're like, God, are we going to travel anymore? This was a lot. I don't know. And I get home and I thought, what is actually happening with me? Like I'm looking at her and I'm looking at her and I'm looking at her and I'm thinking about the global themes of what I feel like. And I've told you, like when you travel with a group, you're always like, which of these is not like the other one? And you think you're the only one who feels that way.
Yeah.
And then you project that onto everybody around you and it creates conflict, and conflict is protection, you know, it's separation from the thing we don't want to look at it about ourselves. And so the vulnerable part, I need to say that again, it's literally protection from the thing that we don't want to look at about ourselves.
Yes.
Right? So I'm focusing on you. I'm talking about you. I'm focusing on you. I'm talking about you, but I'm not looking at me.
Yeah.
And I got home and I thought, what is happening with me? What's happening with me? Right? And it's this. Like I touched base with myself. Like this is how I'm feeling. And we have a group Marco Polo chat. And I got on there and I said, y'all, I need to just throw this out there. I was like, y'all mean a lot to me. Like, I care about y'all deeply. I care about our friendships. I don't want to leave off feeling like I'm hurt or angry or frustrated with you guys. And what's really happening is that I have this fear. Like, I have this fear that this is who I am and I'm not like y'all and you're all judging me. And, you know, and then one by one, each person got on and shared all the things that they were secretly fearful of. And we bonded and we've got a great travel group now.
Yeah.
Right. And we own our shit.
Yeah.
And we show up with real vulnerability. Vulnerability is I threw that out there and there's a chance they were going to reject me. But I had to be honest about that and really wrestle with myself. And I've become an infinitely better friend as a result of it.
Yes, because y'all all have real, factual information about how the other people feel. It's not based on assumption or projection or anything like that. It is coming from the horse's mouth. Each horse is saying how they feel, and it's real, factual information.
And as we travel together, those themes show up for us repeatedly, and we get to say, like, in this moment, I feel like I'm this, this is what I've got going on. I know this is hard to believe that when I get excited or wound up, I talk a lot.
You?
Never. And so sometimes when we're traveling, I'm like, oh my God, I'm driving them crazy. They want me to shut up. They want me to go away. And they're all like, we don't even think anything of that.
Yeah.
And if we wanted you to just quiet down, we'd be like, Julie, it's time to calm down a little bit.
Simmer down, sister.
And I'd be like, oh, okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
So I say that because I had to suffer myself. I had to suffer the part of me. Like, most of us never get past the part where we're looking at you.
Yeah.
And that's why I was good at dispensing advice, because I was always looking at you and I was always doing this thing. When I stopped doing that, I settled with myself.
Yeah.
And I wrestled with myself and I suffered myself. Like, that's where I learned to sit and witness and reduce judgment. I won't say get rid of it, because it's just there. Reduce the shame narrative, reduce the fear narrative, scarcity narrative, all the ways that these things show up and parcel out and crackle out into my life. I was able to really wrestle with that.
Yeah.
And become like a real whole person.
Yes. Yes. And to your point about advice giving, anytime I morph into that advice giving, there is this voice in my head that immediately kicks in now, and it's like, you're talking to yourself, Joanna. Because inevitably, it is like I'm either being so fucking hypocritical with the advice that I'm giving someone else when I'm not even doing it in my own life.
I know I need to do it for myself, but I'm going to tell you to do it, and then I'm going to judge the shit out of you for not taking my advice.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Usually I just, okay, you want some water?
Yeah. So I even think about, like, not getting into specifics, but when you talk about like silence and, the gift of silence is also, you can then sit and connect compassionately with the person you want to defend yourself against.
Yes.
And so that's an interesting piece too, is like there's a fear and a hurt that's happening on the other side of that.
Yeah.
And you don't have to defend yourself against it, and you can sit with compassion, which separates you from the anger.
Yeah.
And allows that person to be autonomous in their process and have what they have going on, and even not to personalize it, even though it's coming personally at you.
Right. Yeah. Because again, it's just all grief, and everyone processes grief differently. Some ways are more hurtful, to the outside world than others. But that's it. Yeah. It's all on the other end. It's another human who is suffering.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got to wrap it up.
Okay. Well, I want to tell one quick thing, because Dee Parlato, who is a genius counselor in the sex addiction recovery world, said this in a group processing group for the women of
spouses partners.
Partners who are sex addicts,
partners of
sex addicts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like, what am I saying? Mm-hmm. She said, and this speaks to the scarcity thing, and this is stuck in my mind for so long when we're thinking about scarcity with other people. She was looking at the group and she said, y'all will drive yourself crazy questioning and wondering and fantasizing and just driving ourselves crazy about this one person in this world that will not give us or isn't capable of giving us the love that we want, when you've got this entire pool of other people, and I'm not talking about like partners, but friends and family, who will give you the love that you are seeking, but you are fixated, on this one person that won't.
Right.
And that was just like, to me, you know, because it like created, my world got so much bigger.
Yeah.
When I heard her say that,
Yeah.
you know, and you and I were talking earlier about how, you know, we all seek this like one phrase or quote or meme or something that's going to just, you know, figure life out for us, you know. And so I don't say that to say that like helped me understand everything in this world, but it created space for me.
Yeah.
You know, it gave me enough information that spoke to my heart that I could like, when I felt myself starting to fixate on stuff like that, I could step back and look at who is in my life that can love me.
That's right.
In that moment, the way that I need to be loved.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just, that was a light bulb moment for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, and a piece of that, and something you and I have talked about a lot lately, is like this concept of holding it to the light. Right? Yeah. Like if it's, you know, like that's another piece of witnessing, which is like, if, you know, like we want to hide from things we're afraid of. And if we're willing to hold it up, you know, it's good and true and right and authentic if it can be held up and still be, you know, seen in that light.
Yeah.
You know, and we've talked about that and that behavior, like when we get into the scarcity and fear and stuff like that, we want to figure out how to hide it from people.
Yes.
And so like, that's another piece of my vulnerable witnessing of myself, is like, if I have an inkling that I want to hide something from somebody, I immediately put it out there with somebody I trust. Immediately. I call, I leave a Marco Polo, I let somebody know. I'm like, here's what's going on in my head, because I need to, you know, I need to vet it.
Yeah. Like I did with you the other day.
Absolutely.
Guess what I just almost did?
Yeah. And I think it's important because like when we don't do that, we go back into, and we could like, we're not going to delve into this because then it would be the whole thing.
Yeah.
But we go back into the old state of being.
Yes.
Right. We go back to what hasn't been functional, what hasn't been working, what hasn't been doing that. And a critical part of witnessing for me is when I do that is looking at it through the lens of understanding and self-compassion rather than shame.
Yes.
Because shame just drives me further into that behavior, and looking at it and going, why am I doing this? This isn't functional. It's not working. Being real, like, you know, targeted and intentional about it goes, okay, like this is my choice to step away from it.
Yeah.
Or it's my choice to sit in it and observe it.
Yes.
And maybe even learn the thing I need to learn from it, and then, you know, move away.
Right.
Or move on.
Right. But bottom line is, I don't have to do it the same way that I've always done it.
Sure.
I do not have to do that. I can choose differently.
Yeah. And we can evolve.
Yes.
And
and
we
there's
will.
so many choices.
That's right.
Yeah.
Man, we could go on. All right, we'll
Yes.
stop. Scott's like, y'all wrap it. So I want to say this. Okay, so a couple of things. You can hear us on iTunes, Spotify. We're also we post the video to Facebook and then
Not Instagram yet. We got to figure that out.
Yeah, we got to figure out the Instagram thing.
Yeah. YouTube? Do we have a YouTube? Okay.
Yep, and YouTube. And we have our social media channel, Newd and Lude, Newd and Lude, Lude.
Yes.
Newd and Lude. I want to encourage the folks, if you want to understand some of the historical pieces, if you're hearing this for the first time, it's episode 2 for this podcast, but you and I did a 2-part series on the Cole Wellness podcast, where we talked about toxic positivity, and then we kind of jumped to the witnessing concept.
Yes.
So if you really want some historical stuff, you can go there. I want to take time to say thank you to everybody who's followed us. We've gotten a lot of really good feedback and a lot of good energy around this. I'm so grateful for it.
Yes. And thank you to our producer, Scott, who navigated my snafus last week.
Scott's like, I'm going to charge y'all double time for this one.
No, my miscommunication. I'm a Gemini, and I think that everyone is privy to the conversations in my head.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, though.
That's right. That's right. And happy birthday to y'all. So we're actually recording this on Wednesday, June 8th. Sorry. Tomorrow, Thursday, June 9th is your birthday.
46th birthday. Yeah.
I know. You're such a baby.
Shit.
Got you by 6 months. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
I'm really appreciate your time and willingness to show up and peel back a lot of these layers with me. You are a really special and genuine friend, and I love you deeply.
I love you too.
And Scott, we love you. Thank you for everything.
Love.
You rock. We're waiting on Scott to do his official rebranding, and then we're gonna throw all the stuff out, so that, because he's really an amazing podcast producer, super flexible and just amazing. So we want to be able to throw out the info for you so you can, continue to do your good work with other people.
Yeah.
What is it?
Palmetto Moose Productions.
Moose?
Palmetto Moose Productions. Palmetto Moose Productions.
Okay.
So, Joanna, if you can't see us making a moose rack on her head.
Palmetto Moose Productions.
Palmetto. So he's working on a PMP.
Yeah.
He's working on the rebranding. So we'll share everything on our stuff when we get there.
Yeah.
All right, sweet.
Cool.
We'll see you guys again in like 2 weeks.
Word.
All right. Thank you,
All right.
everybody.
Thanks, y'all.
Love you.
Bye.